Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is June the 16th, 2021, on the Greco-Roman calendar, 1442, on the ancient moon calendar, and 1441 on the ancient sun calendar. So I have recently heard that, and we like to listen to the Moors when they, have something going on. I've heard that our affidavits are getting too complicated. The one thing I like about our movement is that there's someone out there teaching and doing erudition and sharing information, because we just share the information that we get through our demonstrations at every level. The affidavits that we're doing have to be done, because if we're to take possession of the vast estate, we have to do what we're doing, because that's competent governing. There's nothing that the hybrids have done that we can't do. All we have to do is look at what they did and then change it, bring it into the proper jurisdiction. So we're going to keep going in the direction that we're going, but I will say this, there are less complicated affidavits that we have out there that we've done on the public record, starting with name change and judicial proclamation. So we're basically right now moving into possession, and in order to possess competently, there are certain things that have to be stated and studied and brought into our documents. So and it's okay if it seems a little bit complicated for, the ones who feel that way. Just demonstrate at the level of your understanding, and then as you continue to understand, it'll become clearer, what we're doing. But we have to move above the level of of information that those that were doing things like CEOs and mayors and governors and all of those secretaries of state, and now we're getting into engineering and the sciences of building codes and things like that, because we taught them all of that, and we do want to cover all bases and keep studying, so that everything that we do is competent and covers everything. Because we're going to have to teach the sciences to the heirs that are coming along. Engineers, Moors were the first. Scientists, Moors were the first. We were the first at everything. So we know it, and when we study it, it comes naturally for us. So we're going to keep going in the direction that we're going, and when you're ready, just come with us. I know that in order to properly and competently possess some of the things that we need to possess, it's going to start with knowing the information, because we're Masons. We're Masons in terms of builders. We're builders. And in order to build properly, we have to know how to do all of that. So we are venturing in, going in further to, and right now we're starting with the basics of that level of erudition. Fire marshal inspections, general building inspections, and things like that, which is going to lead us into the engineering piece and the buildings and, you know, all of that. So, and we're okay with that. We're built for this. So, and we're blazing. We know we're blazing the way because we've not been this far out in this generation that we know of. So, the majority of us are moving forward like that, and so we're going to just keep moving forward in that way, so that we can at least make it clear, because again, there's some Moors coming in, like our prophet said, there's going to be some new Moors coming in that's going to sit us in the back, you know, not if I can help it, but but if they do, I'll be glad. I'll probably be ready to sit in the back by then, you know, because they know they're going to come in with their eyes wide open. These sciences are going to be second nature for them, and we're just clearing the path so that it's kept out of the corporate jurisdiction and kept in the sovereign allodial jurisdiction. Because that's the part that I had not seen, is going into these things that we're going into and having it kept in our jurisdiction, you know. So that's where we're going with all of it. Having said that, I want to say that when this, and on another note, whenever you're dealing with corporate and policy enforcers and all of that, if they're acting in a corporate capacity, you can't let them act in a corporate capacity in front of you. They have to be in subject status, period. They can't be corporate in front of you. Because when they're acting corporate, like they have some authority over you, and that's the difference. A subject will know a whole lot about the subject. That's why they call them subject matter experts. They know a whole lot about the subject because we taught them a whole lot about the subject. And that is what they're to bring to the table, but they are not to exercise any authority over the Moors, no matter what they know. Because if they start trying to exercise authority over the Moors, that means, and this is going to sound a certain way, but it's the truth, that means they're trying to hold a seance in front of you. They're trying to call you dead and then speak to the dead. Don't let them hold a seance in front of you. Okay? Because that's a no-no. And that's where all rise and stand comes in at. All rise and stand means get up out of that grave and stand before your Creator in subject status and then give the information. So anytime, and I've been in a couple of meetings lately that were not Moorish meetings, you know, supposedly not Moorish meetings, but you know, we always bring that with us. We don't leave it anywhere. We make it a Moorish meeting. But in those meetings, I went to a meeting the other day where, you know, they had the people in the meeting, they were saying, raise your hand and do this and do that and, you know, all of that. I just politely turned my camera off because I'm not doing any of that. They were telling people to get up out of their seat and do certain things. No, because that's jurisdiction. And I wasn't there for that. Because I didn't want to have to continue to do court actions on people in there. But I will do them, you know. Because we don't have to detach from this dimension in order to stay in our proper status. So I did say all rise and stand in the chat of the meeting. And then whenever they did anything, and after a while, the ancestors said, just tell them that, you know, it is your culture states that you are to reserve the power of your hand and reserve the power of your movement. So I did. We don't do all of that. Not at the behest of someone else. We do it when we want to do it, but not at the behest of anyone else telling us, get up, do this, do that. Nope. Our culture. And I had my turban on and flags behind me just like now. We don't do all of that in those meetings. And we're not going to do it. And that's another reason why, you know, most likely, most of us, if we are going into a working situation, an employment situation, we actually have to employ ourselves, because they'll have you doing things that's against, you know, in order to take jurisdiction over you. And that's where in the past our ancestors went into the corporate workplace to get some information. Islam Empress, yes, me too. Because the first thing they were trying to do was take fingerprints when I went into that. When I first woke up in 2017, before I woke up, I had put in some applications, and I was thinking, I'll just go back to work. And then I woke up. Just in the span of a 2 to 3 month period, I woke up, and then I was listening, and I started seeing what was really going on, where they called after I woke up and said, okay, come on in, we're going to onboard you. Onboard, B-O-A-R-D. That means they were going to put me on a corporate ship. They call it onboarding. And then when I went in, they wanted to, I watched them taking fingerprints. And whenever they would take the fingerprints, they would take them in red. You know, the ink was red. But then they would put them in this little oven and bake them, kind of, sort of. And then when they pulled them out of the oven, it was black. I'm like, and I was already learning all of that. I was learning all of that. So I'm like, no, this ain't for me. Can't do it. Because, again, they're letting you know, they were telling us, everybody there, they were telling you, we're going to denationalize you coming in here. So don't be trying to change up later once you realize who you. Don't be trying. We gonna denationalize you right here at the door, and that's where I see Moors having issues going on to the job when they wake up and realize who they are, and then they. And this was before. Now this was before. This is not happening nearly as much now, but before. Moors would go on to a job in citizen status. You know, because you just fill out the application and all of that. That's what they wanted us to think was just normal behavior. Filling out their crappy applications that we do not fill out. And, you know, before we woke up, we just thought it was normal to fill them out and check African American or black or something. And then they would go ahead and proceed to continue to denationalize us with our consent. And then Moors would wake up on the job and be like, okay, I'm supposed to be getting certain benefits. I'm not supposed to be taxed. You know, there's some things that's going on that's not according to Moorish science. So let me go ahead and put that forth. Well, before we raised those corpses from the dead, they were terminating Moors left and right for that. Terminating Moors left and right. And now I'm watching these hybrids try and wake up the Moors that's on the job. They let them stay on the job, but they try and wake them up. I was talking to a Moor who came to visit recently. And he talked about how on his job, there's these two separate office sections. And everybody who took the vaccine were in one office section. And everybody who did not take it were in there with him. And they actually switched them around. And he said they're watching him, and if he take the vaccine, all of them going to take it. But if he don't take it, they're not taking it. He said they do whatever he does. And he said he came in one day, and they had a bunch of red pens on his desk. They trying to get him to sign things in red. Because, see, they know our science. And I was telling him, you either you got to be yourself or you won't be able to be there. You got to be yourself. And it doesn't matter whether you be yourself or not. Ain't nobody going to be prospering if we're not ourselves. And everyone on this land knows that. No one will get not anything. They will not get anything if we don't wake up. And if we had not awakened, because we're already awake and we're not going back, we know that. But I've heard on various occasions it said that had we chosen not to wake up, that we would have created a literal hell on earth for ourselves and for everyone on the earth. This earth would have turned into literal hell for everyone. That makes sense to me. Fortunately, it is heaven, and it's going to continue to be heaven. We bring heaven with us. When we wake up, we bring heaven to the earth. I've heard that said too, by hybrids. So we just need to keep doing what we're doing. We don't have, and I'll say this, I spoke with another empress yesterday who just in the last couple of days was given back her domicile by the sheriff. They had taken her domicile and they gave it back to her. Because they're in subject status, they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. You can't be corporate on this land. You gotta do exactly what the Moors, what is lawful. So we've made a lot of progress over the last however many years. It was around this time, actually, actually, because this is June now, this was the time that I woke up. It was actually last month, 4 years ago, that I actually woke up. And myself, Shalay Moore, and Sage, my two brothers, woke up at this time 4 years ago. And once we get to a certain point, now we're moving into, and back to the Moors. I'm talking about all of us now. Now that we're at this point that we're at, we are moving into full possession We have to be prepared for full possession. And after a while, we're going to start restoring the ancient buildings and our limestone buildings that are in the territories. But we have to be prepared for that. So this is going to give us the science that we need in order to do that. In every territory, there's going to be buildings that are vacant that need restoration, because we need to use the factories and the manufacturing plants and all of that. Those belonged to our ancestors. Every last one of them. When you talk about General Motors and any of these plants that were built back in the day, our ancestors were doing that long time ago. And so it's going to be up to us to restore everything, so we're getting ready to do that as well. This temple that is Al-Marak, ancient Morocco, this land has to be restored 100% back, and then beyond that. It has to be restored, and we have to do it. So that's where we're going with all of the affidavits and things that we're doing. And we're keeping it in our ancient English, etc. The new Moors that are coming in, I'm not sure if many of you have seen on social media where they have these posts that are written backwards. And they would say, if you can read this, your IQ is above whatever. You know, they have these posts running around on social media that say that. If you can read this, or they'll put something upside down, and they'll say, if you can read this, then, you know, you're in the 5% or whatever. Well, the new Moors that are coming in, they can read ancient English. They're like, that's nothing. I can read that. Easy. You know. So, and then they prefer to write that way. It's kind of like text message language. Because, see, everybody's okay with text message language, but then you start putting affidavits out there with ancient English, and then people have a problem. They'll let Bill Gates tell them they can write any kind of way. But then when it's lawful writing that makes sense, that's ancient, any of the old records that you look at are going to have ancient English spelling. And we've posted much of that on social media. So the unity is happening. We're coming together. And we just have to keep doing what we're doing. Are there any questions, comments, or any demonstrations that you're doing?
Islam.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I've been thinking about this for quite a while. Right now, I'm watching the Australian Territory Citizen Party. And they have been fighting to get a public bank, but through the Postal Service. They recently had a major breakthrough, but it made me realize the importance of what you're doing. That the building you're working to acquire. Once we get that, especially the first Postal Service set up, and because the Postal Service, the history was it was the banking, it was the Postal Service, and it's also the court. So
yes,
I'm watching the resistance, because once we get that established, it'll be very difficult for that other system to continue. So I understand or overstand the resistance that we've been getting about that building, especially that particular business that we're reestablishing again. So I just wanted to make that remark, because I'm not sure if we all knew that this is the origin that our ancestors left us. the Postal Service belonged to us, and
Yes,
it was complete. And, right, and so now we're trying to reestablish it, and we've been getting lots of resistance, and it actually excites me because we figured it out, and it's only a matter of time that that things are back in place, because we're determined it's going to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Islam. Thank you.
Islam. Yes, Empress. Thank you for that. So the financial system has a backbone, and the backbone of the financial system first is the people. Next, it's the post office, which we have opened our post office. How did we do that? We just started delivering our own documents, and we've named ourselves. We've not named ourselves, but we've taken the offices of Postmaster General. That's all Moors, Sovereign Postmaster General. And then with the post office comes the bank. So we have to have our own money. We can't use fake fiat. We have to use real money backed by gold. So the steps that we're taking, and then, you know, we've taken the steps along the way as inspired by our ancestors to make sure that we cover all of our bases. The gold standard was a big important part of that, which we did that in 2018, announced the gold standard. And then we leaned the United States Corporation Company in 2018. And then in 2019, we announced the gold standard, and we put the 666 trillion on the public record to let them know we know how much we're worth. And 666 trillion is a drop in the bucket, maybe. It's a drop in the ocean compared to what we're really worth. So we've been doing it line upon line and precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. So we're just taking it, you know, building. But the foundation has to be there. The foundation has to be there. So the things that we've been doing, and I'll tell you this, we have a bunch of debtors. We've debted the whole corporate structure. There's not a corporation out there that's not indebted to the Moors. So we just went ahead and put them in debtor's prison because, you know, we don't need what they have. They're the ones, the corpses and corporates are the ones who was passing around all of that, what they call quote unquote private commercial. So just one moment. Okay. I don't know how to get that off the screen. Okay, there it is. So the corpses were the ones passing that stuff around. Now, let me say this. Where we're going next is we are the municipality as well as the sovereign government, the sovereign nations, and all of that. The purpose of a municipality is to begin issuing, Islam nobility, is to begin issuing this is where issuing of the tags and the travel documents and all of that comes in at. So, and then also where our Moorish police come in at. The municipality is what hires the police. So, but we had to, again, have the bank set up. We had to have our own money and all of that. So we're just continuing to build. And then with the municipalities, you know, we have some strategies in mind there that's really going to forward the movement of our money. Forward the movement of our money, big time. Everyone's going to be using our money in just a short while. So it's going to come through our court. So Islam.
And one more observation. Everyone is out there is really careful not to say that gold and silver are the constitutional money. No one says that but us. So, and I know that they say it. I mean, it's like one of the great secrets too. They quote, the Constitution. We're going back to the Constitution, but they won't say the constitutional money is gold. And it drives me nuts, to tell you the truth. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that out in the open. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Islam.
Well, they know the Moors, just like Justice Generall was saying in the chat. They know the Moors own the gold. And they also know now the reason that they can say they're going back to the Constitution is because they know we're awake. And we wanted to put on the public record each of the steps to institute the gold-backed money. So, like even with the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, we had to rebut that by doing our currency controller affidavit. So we've done the study to pick this thing apart because we have to do it. And we've done the study to pick these things apart, and then we just put forth the affidavits to state that based on our study. And every time we do that, we see a change in whatever we address via our affidavit. Now, the next thing that we have to do, we did it about a year ago. I did a video on SETA-KV where we rebutted the SETA-KV, the corporate SETA-KV, or some people call it CESTA-QV. That's a French term. And we actually, and I know some are not going to agree with this right off the bat, but we have to do it. We have to do a sovereign CESTA-QV to put all the subjects in it, or else they won't have any protection financially. We have to.
Why don't you show everybody that all of this works there, Pauline? It doesn't.
So, boy, that's a change from what they used to say coming in here, isn't it? They used to say your cards don't work and all of that. They're not saying any of that now. It's show us that this works. Well, we see that. So, they're telling us that we're doing a great job. So we have to do a SETA-KV. Yeah, we did do that, Justice Theodore. Now, if you're gonna be in, you could have stayed in here if you not come in the chat like that guy, the hybrid. We have to do a SETA-KV in red and all lowercase letters and put the standing living subjects in blue in our SETA-KV. The standing living subjects in blue so that they can be protected. Because if you think about what SETA-KV really did, SETA-KV was saying that we were lost at sea and that someone else had to take control of everything. Well, the subjects are not lost at sea anymore, so we have to account for them too. So our set of KV will be different. It'll say they're not lost at sea, they're here with us. And that's a, you know, they did use it for ill. They did. Following the great deluge, the great flood, because there was a great flood on this earth. Following the great flood, they said, we have all of this stuff, and we don't know who owns this stuff. We think they're lost at sea. So there was a literal great deluge, a great flood, and there was also a spiritual one. And then there was a lawful one. So it happened in all three dimensions, and we fixed that. We fixed it. And now, as we begin to engage in commerce and merchant actions, we will, the earth, the flood and the waters on the earth are going to change position. They've already started. So that we can see the ancient buildings and things like that. Because all they did was put some dams. They dammed up some rivers and ran the rivers right through our cities and flooded them. So many of our ancient cities are underwater, but when the dams are moved or destroyed, then it's going to uncover everything back to its natural flow. And then we'll be able to see the ancient buildings and things that we did not see here previously. So back to the banking situation, all of the banking stuff is, we needed our own banking system because that fiat banking system, there is no way that banking system can account for an ancient structure like the ones we have. One structure would break that whole system. One structure would break that whole Federal Reserve system, the corporate Federal Reserve system, because they're so massive and so priceless. So we had to have a quantum system, a system that could multiply exponentially the resources and it not break the system down. And that's what we have. So now we can put in as many zeros as we want to put in, ones and zeros, and our system can handle it because we're just putting it in an affidavit and then placing it on the public record. And as we begin restoring the ancient structures, you know, there's going to be accountability attached to that, or accountability attached to that. And we want to be sure that we are able to count properly and count up for that. Because we're going to be seeing materials and things that we had not seen before on a massive scale. Massive scale. So those are just some of the things. Yes, I'm sorry. You're so correct, Justice Yakub. Ones and oughts, not ones and zeros. It's ones and oughts. Yes, you're correct. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions and comments or wisdom that you want to add to what we have today? Tomorrow we're going to be continuing our all that we're doing with regard to moving into possession of, well, the building down the street, we have it already. It's ours already. That's already on the public record. because we put it on the public record. And they're just watching to see if we're going to do the proper inspections and all of that, which we are. We do what we do, and we don't need any validation for that. We're going to do the right thing with regard to the building, because that's it's kind of like our test subject building, our test demonstration. And so tomorrow we'll be going through something that I want to go over, this public servants questionnaire for the Moors. The public servants questionnaire affidavit is where we do court actions on the public servants. Some of the questions in there that we're going to discuss, and I have it right here. So if you want to get a public servants questionnaire, this is a citizen one, but we're going to transfer it over. One thing that some may not have known is that the citizens were given a delegation, and we're the ones who delegated that because no one has any authority to delegate but us. The citizens, at one point we had delegated that they can administer an oath to the public servant if it says if no one else exists to witness public servant affirmation. That's at the bottom of this document. Citizen may administer oath to public servant if no one else exists to witness public servant affirmation. Well, whenever they say if no one else exists, who do you think they're talking about? Correct. The Moors. So some of the questions on here are questions like, will public servant uphold the Constitution of the United States of America? And they say of, but we say for. Required by USA and state constitution and law, yes or no. A couple of other questions are, does public servant reasonably anticipate that any information sought or collected in this investigation will form the basis of or lead to criminal action against citizen or any other entity? Yes or no. Another question on here is, what will be the effect upon citizen if citizens should choose not to answer any part of these questions? And then they give 5 USC 552A E3D. And they have the option to select none or write out what those effects will be. And it's got about, yes, Justice Theodore, when you do stuff like that, can you put it on the public record so everybody can see it? Let me see.
Islam, Empress?
That's good. That's yes, Islam.
I was going through some different things in case I got traffic stopped, and I say this might come in handy, to give the policy enforcers. And I just went on and did it, but I had never used it or I hadn't published it because Janiyah was my mentor, and I hadn't run it past her. She was helping me, at the time, So I wanted to make sure I understood everything.
Okay. This is good. It's on the screen, Nobility.
I yield.
Good. Yeah. See, so you know what? And I'll say this, and this is why, Moors, when you think of something, please do it. Put it on the public record. That's demonstrating at the level of your understanding. Don't doubt yourself. You did the right thing. This is right. If you're inspired to do something, do it. And then we'll clean it up as we go, just like anything else that we've been doing. You know, when we first started this portion of consulate work, you know, our teachers said, just go ahead and get started and we'll clean it up as we go. So it doesn't have to be what anyone else thinks it should be. Just put out there the way you think it should be. And it's going to be right. It's going to be right. Because it's right for you, because you can demonstrate it. You understand it and you can demonstrate it. This is beautiful. That's a beautiful document. Wow. Beautiful document. Beautiful. So I'm going to make it big on the screen so that the Moors can see it. Hang on just a second.
I'm not sure, Empress, if you can save it, or if anybody that clicks on it can save it to a file.
We can, and we're going to do that.
Okay.
Definitely. So the way you did it, Nobility, is perfect. I'm going to put it in Ancient English for those who are wanting to put theirs in Ancient English.
Islam.
And then, you know, but again, it's perfect. You did it the way that you could demonstrate it, and that's the way it should be. That makes it perfect, is you can demonstrate it. Any document out there, Morris, any document out there that the citizens are using, the Moors should be putting it in red, switching up the language just a little bit. And when I say switching up the language, you know, wherever it says citizen, you change the word citizen to sovereign. And then you use it.
Islam, Empress,
yes.
is the private, you know, I've seen it on some of the affidavits. They had private. We changed that to sovereign too, right?
Yes.
We're not privates.
Yes.
Islam, I yield.
Thank you, Nobility. Emperor Pharaoh. Islam. That's beautiful. Yeah, let me make sure I save it too. Yep, I got it. Got it. Okay. So, and then we will put the link to this under the video. If that's okay, Justice Theodore.
Islam, Empress. I also want to say we could put it on Scribe, however to pronounce it. And you get a document number for it too.
Islam. So that shortens the work I have to do between now and tomorrow. Thank you. Perfect. So any documents that you see out there, Moors, I don't care what the document is, I don't care what it is. Just take it and do like Justice Theodore did right here. Put it in red and all lowercase letters, and you got it. Do that. So, Justice Theodore, do you see the message in the chat for you from Justice Olongo at Trinidad Territory?
Islam, Justice Olongo, I send you the ID, remember?
Islam.
Yes, Oh, you want my phone number? Okay. Okay. I'll give you a call. Thank you very much. Okay. I got you, brother.
Perfect. Is there any other listen? The Morris got it. I love it. So, is there any other wisdom? Any comments, questions, etc.? We're doing
Islam.
everything right. Yes.
Islam, Empress. I see they redid the grid on the consulate website. The grid. They've redone it and look like some of the things are missing. But I found the allodial cost schedule and converted it also. I want to send it, put it in here. So that's okay.
Okay. Keep an eye on that. They'll be adding some things and changing some things around on there.
Yeah, it's a new look to it, and it's kind of nice. But I guess I was familiar with the O and why it looks like something's missing.
Yeah. Well, they may have shortened it because the grid was a bit expensive. And it needed to be shortened. It needed to be shortened because we're moving into, we can shorten it down to the first 6 documents that we do: the name change, judicial proclamation, termination of corporate contracts, trust proclamation, lien, and a court action. Those 6 things right there, the Moors need to do and know, like second nature. And aside from that, Moors branch off into their sciences. Once they know those 6 things, their sciences will do the rest. Oh, and they are going to need to know the affidavits for credit, accepted for value, so that whatever they see, they can take it and start using it. So
Islam.
We're doing everything right. Islam, Empress.
This is Empress Aisha Taylor L. I have a question here on the national mantra because I haven't started doing the court actions yet. I was wondering if I could just take the Moorish mantra and also insert in there that I'm creditor to all the nations of the earth, and send this in with my bills, things that still have to be responsible for until I get these contracts canceled.
Yeah, Empress, if that's the demonstration that you are led to do, then do it. It's better than doing nothing.
All right.
So whatever demonstration you're led to do, do it. Because, see, you're claiming the debt, and I know you know that just by the words that you use. I know that you're aware of that. You're claiming debt that's not yours. But you have to demonstrate the way that you're led to demonstrate. So if that's the way you're led to demonstrate, go ahead and do it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Islam. And in red and all lowercase letters is good, because that's the way the creditor speaks. The Savior speaks, and you are the Savior. You're saving yourself by what the demonstration you just, stated.
Okay, and then I would seal it with my thumbprint in red.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, Empress. Yep. We all are going to. Yes. No better.
Islam. How often should I use sea salt, and how much?
I would say a teaspoon twice a day.
Okay, thank you.
For starters, a teaspoon twice a day.
All right. I need some sea salt in Trinidad, man. We have so much of sea all around us, but I need sea salt.
Yeah. Well, you all over there in Trinidad, y'all got sea salt everywhere. Y'all got to, you know, not everybody lives on the coast like I do, and like, you know, but you all got sea salt everywhere. And even those who don't live on the coast, because, you know, I'm finding out that there's lakes that have sea salt in them here. And we should have known that. We should have known our resources are everywhere. I was watching a movie yesterday that was based here. It was done here, kind of like the X-Files or, you know, something like that. But I think the name of the movie, I can't remember the name of the movie. But in the movie, it was centered here, and they pointed out a lake. And when they did samples of the lake, the guy said, when has there ever been a lake that has this rare of earth minerals in it? Because his little sample turned blue. And that meant that there was a particular rare earth mineral in the water. He said, I've never seen this before. It's not supposed to be here. You know, so our resources are everywhere, everywhere. And with the movements and stuff that's going on the earth with regard to the earthquakes and things like that, all of that is putting everything back where it was before. So our resources are everywhere, and I think everyone's aware of that. So as we, again, move into full possession of that which is ours, our sciences have to come forth. We're going to need sample kits, chemical sample kits, so that we will know which rare earth mineral we have come upon today and and how to use it. So, are there any other questions or comments or wisdom? Islam. So, yes.
Islam. I just wanted to thank Justice Theodore for his contribution. Islam.
Yes, Justice Theodore, thank you for the document. Beautiful. It's going to be posted underneath this video. And if you all come up with any documents, let us do like Justice Theodore and post a link to it so we can download it and put it under the video. And we'll start putting your documents under the video so that the Moors can pull from your resource base, because you have a huge resource base. Islam nobility.
Yes. I thank you all for your props and everything, but when the spirit hits you, you got to move.
Yes.
And I just felt it, so I did it. But
Islam.
I was just waking up, so I'm trying to make sure I'm doing everything right. Islam, I yield.
You know you are. You know you are. You already know it. You already know. Yes. There's no wrong way for us to be ourselves. We say that all the time. Yeah.
We're like Reese's.
There's no wrong. Islam?
We're like Reese's. There's no wrong way.
Yes. There's no wrong way. Islam.
Islam.
Every way is the right way, because there's 1,000,001 ways for us to be ourselves. The only way we can't be ourselves is trying to be a United States corporation company citizen at the same time. That's the only way we can't. So, with that being said,
Islam,
peace and
anybody hear me?
Islam. Yes, we can hear you, Empress.
Okay. I know you mentioned on one of the calls that we can open up a bank account through the post office. I just want to know if anybody here has done that.
If you have *6.
Okay. That's not. Okay. Well, I'll just contact the post office to see how to do it, because I looked on the internet and
It seemed like all the websites came up with in Hindu and Chinese and all other kind of languages, you know, like it's not done here. So
there's some answers in that, though. If
right.
everybody else can do it, we can too.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay. I yield.
Islam. I'm thinking about what you're saying about that, and an affidavit, Empress Portia, is going to be the way to communicate that to them. See, the things that we're doing, we're uncovering some things, and we have to tell them how to do it.
Okay.
We have to tell them how to do it. So an affidavit is going to be how that works.
That will go to the Postmaster General.
The corporate one, not the corporate one, but the one doing business as the subject. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. I yield.
Because ultimately, you are the Postmaster General. So you would just be telling your subject how to do it. So you're going to have to do the study on accounts, post office accounts. The reason we opened our own post office and started delivering our own documents and only using that one for documents that go on the other end of our land is because we know that at some point the accounts that we have are going to come through each one of us.
Okay.
And then at some point, and I already see it happening, all of the hybrid financial systems, the banks and all of that, everyone who was doing things in a corporate status, they're all, or subject status rather, are all moving to digital so that we can take those resources and use them. The SWIFT system, which is the system that goes between bank accounts, that system they're moving out of the way so that we can go ahead and move on to it. And once we move on to it, they will come in under subject status there. But we have to be on to it first, and we're already pretty much there. We're sending out documents all the time from here that give the commands on how to do that, the codes, any coding that needs to be done. We publish the IRS codes that turn all of the accounts into creditor accounts. And now we have follow-up documents with banking coding and things like that we're doing. So that's going to make it so that both our post office financial structure will just kind of like, theirs will link up to ours. In the chat, how is the AMAX coming along? Thank you for that question. We are absolutely slammed with packets. And so we have had to, I'm so glad you asked that question because I've been meaning to say this on the public record. We're into the trillions in contributions from the Moors. So we are so grateful for that. We have so many packets that we've had to pause the meetings, the one-on-one meetings. We've had to pause them so that we can catch up on the packets. And yes, we've gotten packets from everywhere. We're over 500 correspondences one way. And then when you go back the other way, it's over right around 1,200 correspondences. with regard to requests coming in and documents coming back, etc. So, and right now I'm the only one doing them. In between doing demonstrations and the classes and things like that. So thank you for your patience, and as soon as we get caught up on the packets, we'll start the meetings again. And it's going to be probably another couple of weeks. We will give an update financially on how the Moroccan American Exchange is doing. We have already, we're at probably about, this is a guesstimation. The last time we were at 2.1 trillion in gold given by the heirs for their companies and their inheritance. And with the packets that we have in there, we will supersede that by much. So hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have another total. We're trying to do the totals every 30 days, either every 15 days or every 30 days. So the Moroccan American Exchange started April 26th. That was the day that we did the symposium and introduced it, April 26th. So we gave an update May 26th. And at that time, we had 2.1 trillion in tributions by the Moors to their own vast estate. And then on the 26th, which is in a week, and it's in about 10 days, we'll give another update and see where we are. And we'll try to be caught up on all the packets by then. In the interim, we're preparing to do an inspection of our building down the street, both fire inspection and the general inspection. And then at some point, we'll have a grand opening of the building so that the Moors can come and see what's been done. So right now, we're just showcasing, not showcasing, but showcasing our competence to ourselves, not to anyone else, because we don't have anything to prove to anybody. We're just making sure that we are comfortable with our level of competence at doing the demonstrations and everything, the inspection. So with that being said, are any other wisdom questions, etc.? Okay. Islam, thank you for that question. Yes, we've paused everything in terms of, because packets are coming in every day. And we want to almost every hour. And so we're almost, so we're just trying to get caught up at least to a certain point. And then provide, and then go through each one of them, send back a response, and provide that response to each one who sent their packets in, and then add up and do our counting on this end so that we can present to the Moors what the count is.
Islam?
Yes. Islam.
I watched a movie sometime this month. It's called Awake. And it just reminds me of what it is that we're doing. A lot of people in this movie could not go to sleep. They were awake for days and days and days. And there were only a few people that were able to still sleep. And then they were doing experiments on them to try to figure out how they're able to sleep. And they were going to just, rip the person apart, take out their organs and things to try to save all of humanity to send everybody else back to sleep. And I just found that to be ironic. I think, it would be good for people to take a look at that movie and just see the subliminal messages that are, behind that. It's definitely an interesting sight to see.
So the movie she mentioned is Awake. That's the name of the movie. Yeah, every movie that I've seen, I'm seeing it all with new eyes. All of them with new eyes. Oops, I wanted to put that document up there. So I'm going to have to look that movie up, Empress, and see what they're saying there, because there's messages and clues to the estate in every movie.
Yes, yes, very interesting.
Mhm. So movies like that movie and National Treasure and this movie that I watched recently that was set up here has clues to the vast estate in it. I did not know that there were structures that were above ground, ancient structures that were above ground in this territory until I watched the movie. I believe the movie is called Descent. That's it. That's the name of it. Descent with Luke Perry. That movie shows, and it's on YouTube, that movie showed an old, there was some old quote-unquote private land. And they showed the sign that said stay out, and it had, you know, the old writing that we have at the top, the script that we use at the top of our affidavits that looks like Gothic script. Well, it had a G on the top of it on that sign in the movie that was in old script, and it looks exactly like the script that we use at the top of our affidavits. And there was an old ancient structure there, right above ground in Pierce County, which is right next door. So I got to see something that because I thought all of our stuff was buried, but apparently it's not. So in all of those movies, we can see, you know, clues and hints. The movie National Treasure tells you that we have a bunch of gold somewhere, you know, and I'm just proceeding because the gold, in terms of our banking and all of that and the gold standard, because people were asking, well, where is the gold? We know we're the gold, but somewhere out there, people keep saying there's this bunch of gold that belongs to the quote-unquote Americans, which is us. So I'm just proceeding because I know in my spirit that that's true. But I also know that even if it didn't exist, which it does, we're the gold. So when we talk about a gold standard, when you see any of the Moors, you're looking at the gold right there. So we just proceed in that manner with what we know. That's provable. So with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, and we'll be right back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Islam.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Peace.
Grand rising.
All right. Peace and love, Eric. Grand rising.
Much love. Islam.
Grand rising.
Peace and grand
Thank you, Justice Theodore. Islam.
Much love, much love.
Justice Musa, you finally turned on your camera. Yay! We get to see more of the nobility. Way to go. I love your flag back there. Love it. Love it, love it. Love the turban.
I can't even get my flag. The store is closed over a month now.
Oh, my goodness.
Islam.
I got mine on Amazon.
Yes. See, look, everybody has their flags up. This is awesome. I love it. Islam heirs, peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Grand Rising. I got mine on Amazon too.
Islam.